love bears all things, hopes all things, desires all things. I often think that actually the Apostle Paul, if that was the writer, has a very idealistic approach to what love really is, or what love has become within our world. That love really, if we are truthful about it, is not the commodity or the experience of us that does believe all things, hopes all things, desires all things, keeps no record of wrongs. I couldn't help but hear that and think, oh, Paul, you were never in love. Paul, you really, I'm not sure you really experienced the kind of relationships that I see happening in our world. And yet the apostle calls us to a higher consciousness and to a higher level of understanding of this love, this feeling, this emotion, this sense of love that we are called to have with one another. This love that we are called to have with the world, and the love that we are called to have for ourselves, as well as the love that we are called to have for other people. Can you truly imagine what it must be like if we were daring to speak love's name this morning here in this church? Can you imagine what it must be, or what it could be like, if we dared to speak love's name for ourselves? Daring to speak a love for ourselves that keeps no record of wrongs. How many of us are keeping our own record of wrongs that we have done to ourselves? And yet the Apostle Paul reminds us that this love is not the love that perhaps we have for other people, but the love that we have for ourselves, that daring to speak love's name upon ourselves, that keeps no record of wrongs. Wouldn't there be a wonderful sense of freedom this morning if we could truly believe just that one sentence, that we can dare to speak love's name for ourselves, and because we dare to speak love's name for ourselves, we could let go of all of the things that we have kept in our own record of wrongs. You see, we often think about this scripture in relationship to others, but I think Paul is talking directly to us this morning. That all the baggage that we have carried around with us, all of the wrongs that we have levied against ourselves, all of the things that we have stopped ourselves affording ourselves, the apostle is inviting us to say, keep no wrongs, but delight in the truth. Delight in the truth that God sees us differently than we see ourselves. Delight in the truth that God's grace will cover a multitude of sins. That God's grace will free us this morning if only we would afford ourselves that daring to speak love's name into our own hearts, into our own lives, into our own bodies. We've denied ourselves the experience of God's love for far too long. And the world has denied God's love and experience, not just to God's LGBTQIA people. I know we keep adding initials. But the world has denied God's love to so many. You know, I think sometimes we think we're the oppressed peoples. But I want to tell you, sisters and brothers, we're only oppressed if we want to keep ourselves down. If we want to keeping our own record of wrongs, that's where oppression is. When we stop keeping a record of wrongs, that's where liberation and freedom exists. And the world might still think we're oppressed, but we don't have to live that way. We can claim our own freedom this morning because we've dared to speak the name of love. We've dared to know that love can be afforded us. But it takes a step. It takes a step for each and every one of us to believe it. To truly believe and embody the presence of love that can be afforded us. You know, we're so easy and so quick to know that love can be given to somebody else. You know, we're so quick to say, well, of course Vianney can be loved. I mean, she's cute, she's beautiful, she wears those pumps so well. Or Matt, of course God's love can be afforded to Matt. You know, he's done no wrong in his life. We just see this wonderful, oh yeah, Matt's wife is not agreeing with me this morning. You know, we can look at other people and we say, I can see that, I can love them. I can see how God would love them. But sometimes we just need to point the finger back at ourselves and say the reality is that God didn't make favorites, but that God made each and every one of us. And that love that the apostle reminds us of is a love that we must shower ourselves with this morning. If we dare to speak love's name for someone else, we must dare to speak love's name for ourselves, for who we are, for what we are, and for what we are becoming. You see, the path of a Christian journey is not to stand still. The path of the Christian life is to continue to embody the love and life of Christ in all that we do, to become more and more and more fully like Jesus in this world today. We started this whole year by saying we want